The words used to describe Marvin Harrison Jr. Elite technique, better than his Hall of Fame father, and the best wide receiver prospect in over 12 years. I know that all sounds crazy, but what we're going to do is we're going to quickly break down everything that we saw on film from Marvin Harrison Jr. We're going to preview his scouting profile in the Football Guys rookie guide and tell fantasy managers how they should be valuing him going forward. Jagger, what did you see on Marvin Harrison Jr. when you watched him on film?
Well, I think it's the second coming is what you basically see on there, and then the second coming of what the probably the greatest wide receiver prospect we've ever seen. We were joking before the show started about how it's hard to even talk about him because he's so good. It's kind of like Bijan was last year, but to actually put into words of why he's so good, it to me it's kind of three things that all piggyback off each other, and it's polish and fluidity, functional size, and body control, and all those kind of go together. And then I'll start with the functional size part, because we see time out time again of receivers with huge athletic profiles and size, but they can't really translate to the field. Marvin Harrison Jr. both looks as big as he is, doesn't look as big as he is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Meaning that he moved like he's one of those. If this was basketball, it's like, well, he's a center who moves like a guard. That's kind of how Marvin Harrison Jr. is, just as a wide receiver prospect. And then again, when you have that size and making it functional, it's the body control that he has to use it. It's not just the fluidity in and out of routes. You could consistently throw the old school really red zone fades to him, and he can make a play on it. So when you put all that together, you have a wide receiver with prototypical size, speed, and then he has the tape where you can literally move him all over the field, and he fits the model of an old school receiver, but he definitely can play in the modern era where, like, I always joke with people that size doesn't matter as much because you got to be able to move all the way through the formation.
Yeah, Jagger, you talk about a guy that's able to kind of move around all over the field. And even though he's primarily like your classic outside wide receiver, like we talked about, what I really love about him is his spatial awareness. And that's something that for me, whenever I find a wide receiver that has that, he immediately becomes a draft crush of mine. And this is not me like, yeah, sure. Marvin Harrison's not exactly my draft crush. I think he's everybody's draft crush. But when you see this on a wide receiver prospect, you know that they have something special and they can make it in the league, in the NFL, because the players, they're pieces on a chessboard, right? And to me, the players that can see the entire chessboard and be able to maneuver correctly and be able to help their quarterback, the quarterbacks that are extending plays and try to elongate these plays that maybe get broken, they have that spatial awareness to be in the right spot at the right time. That is so huge. And then on top of that, when they can use that spatial awareness during their planned routes, and with Marvin Harrison, what he does is the pacing that he has through routes might be some of the best I've ever seen. His ability to stop, start, slow down, speed up. He's not as sudden as you'd want to be, but the pacing throughout the route is just, it's really brilliant. I know he's one of these guys, we talked about him already being a technician, and he really is. And one of the things that he does great is getting his hands up late constantly. We see that with wide receivers a lot, where they can get their hands up to go get the ball at the very last minute so that a cornerback can't make a play or a defensive back can't make a play on the ball. We're just saying a bunch of great things about Marvin Harrison Jr. And I know at this point it almost just sounds hyperbolic, but a year ago, Brian Hartline, the wide receivers coach over at Ohio State, said that Marvin Harrison Jr. is the top wide receiver he's ever coached over Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Terry McLaurin. So I don't think it's just us getting excited about Marvin Harrison Jr. I think everybody is excited about Marvin Harrison Jr.
And then just to reference our rookie guide, it's kind of reiterating a lot of the things that we've already said, and it's the high level body control and the refined technique. And again, these are things that matter even more since he is in that 6'3" range. And again, if you can actually utilize your body at 6'3", it's the difference between having someone, let's say like your Justin Jeffersons, or like a comp that we're going to talk about, AJ Green, and then your Quentin Johnstons. And then the real big issues that we're bringing up, and this is again being nitpicky, is that he could improve in his short area burst and then the play strength. A lot of that play strength, I don't dock this on wide receivers too much, because they do put on size and a little bit of strength once they take that next leap. And then again, the short area burst, he's 6'3", so having to get low to sink his hips to torque down, he does that better than anyone at his size. So again, this is us just trying to poke holes in one of the best prospects I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think at this point we're just saying negative things just to make sure that there are things that he can improve upon.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, play strength. Yeah, sure. I mean, NFL players do tend to get stronger. It's great. They have weight rooms in the NFL too.
Yeah.
All that stuff happens. But yeah, you mentioned the player comps. AJ Green in our football guys rookie draft guide, the player comp they have there is Larry Fitzgerald. But for Marvin Harrison Jr., there's not a relative athletic score because he has not done any of the combine stuff or pro day stuff. And if you're like me, Jagger, that stuff does not matter to you. Am I right?
No, the tape shows enough. He's done enough.
Yeah, and if you want to get more information on these rookies, like we have with Marvin Harrison Jr., you can go check out the Football Guys Rookie Guide. You can click the link in the comments below and download this guide. It has over 150 plus prospects. It's phenomenal. Go check that out. Big shout out to our guys over at the Football Guys Dynasty Show. Now, Jagger, when we take a look at the numbers, not just the film, what do the analytics say about Marvin Harrison Jr.? Well, according to Pro Football Focus, he leads all wide receivers in this draft class in career yards per route run, touchdowns per route run, and first downs per route run. Those are three very, very big metrics to be good at and to lead the class in for his career. Now, we already mentioned this earlier. The hands are incredible. Only 10 drops on 248 targets. He's a classic outside wide receiver one, like we discussed. 80% of his snaps were out wide, but he still has that versatility where he can play inside if you need him to and be spatially aware of what he's doing and where he's at. And then this past season, he had the best Pro Football Focus grade against zone coverage in the class. And you see that. Once again, keep going back to this guy being very spatially aware. Continuing on with the numbers here, second in yards per route run at 3.44. Typically, what that means when you've got a player that has a higher yards per route run, he is being asked to run more intricate routes. He's being asked to run things that are a bit longer downfield that take a bit more time to develop. He is entrusted with being the primary target for that offense. He wasn't always really used in short area stuff. Almost everything he did was downfield. So if you want to try to spin this to negative, maybe you can. But even out of the slot, 5.2 yards per route run, most in the class. Even his screens were at an average of 2 yards downfield. So you could try as hard as you want. There's really not many negatives here with Marvin Harrison Jr.
None at all. And like you said, all the things that we like show up in the advanced stats, especially when you look at his usage. And then like the big thing, the spatial awareness that shows up in his PFF grade of zone coverage. And then just to go down to where we're ranking him right now, we have our Dynasty rookie ADP. For me and almost everyone, he's 1A. He's going 102 right now in Superflex. And again, shout out to Jay Stein. He's the one who constantly puts all this stuff together for us. He's constantly running mocks. So make sure to drop him a follow so you can keep track of this as we get closer to the draft. And make sure to subscribe to the site where we constantly have this data going. The biggest trend for him is that it's not so much I think he's going down, is that more people are putting Malik Neighbors up. And for me, that's kind of the same thing, where the only thing that would, again, quotations, hurt Marvin Harrison for me is if he doesn't get the optimal landing spot and then someone like Malik Neighbors does. Other than that, he's probably one of the safest spots in your 102, 10, and even 101 range. This is a one wide receiver, I would say, especially even in Superflex. If you have 2 to 3 good QBs, go ahead and just take Marvin Harrison. He's a great prospect, and we're going to be talking about him as being a top 6 dynasty asset already.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to these wide receivers, you mentioned Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., even Roma Dunze. For a lot of people, it's just going to be pick your flavor. I do
Mm-hmm.
think, though, we're kind of getting into prospect fatigue here where don't overthink it. We've got our best wide receiver prospect that we've had in a very long time. I think there's a lot of excitement about Malik Neighbors going out and running a very good 40, running in the 4.3s. But Marvin Harrison Jr., I think he's probably going to stay as that wide receiver one for most people. However, it's very reasonable if someone wants to take Malik Neighbors ahead of him. I think that, like you said, Jagger landing spot is going to make a big difference for all these players when it comes to dynasty. Now, you can go and check out our dynasty rankings, the dynasty ADP, all that stuff over at footballguys.com with the link in the comments down below. Jagger, let's wrap this up with our dynasty rankings where we have Marvin Harrison Jr. in Superflex rookie rankings. So among the rookies, where do you have him amongst the wide receivers?
Currently, I have him as a wide receiver one. Like I said, this is without any draft capital or landing spot or anything. So right now, I don't think there's any argument that he is not the wide receiver one.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Wide receiver one. He's second overall amongst the rookies for Superflex in both of our rankings. So makes perfect sense. And then amongst all of the wide receivers in Dynasty. This is rookies and veterans together. Jag, where do you have Marvin Harrison Jr. ranked?
Wide receiver 6, which is still bullish. The only people that I have ahead of him are the ones that you guys can all name. Your Jamar Chases, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. I think I still have Garrett Wilson because he does have a good landing spot if the Jets don't suck. But other than that, there's not many prospects I want ahead of him or players, for instance, that I want ahead of him right now when you have someone who could be a stud right away as a rookie.
Yeah, I think with the prospect profile alone, you could justify ranking Marvin Harrison as high as wide receiver 5 if you want to be
Mhm.
really, really bullish on him. I still have him as wide receiver 7, just behind Puka Nakua, because it's so hard to look at a rookie that came in, did something historic, and be like, you know what, I'm going to put you behind this guy that's never played. Now, obviously, a lot of that is just projection, but one spot difference between you and me, you have him at wide receiver 6, I have him at wide receiver 7. We both have Marvin Harrison Jr. as a top 18 Dynasty Superflex startup pick. So that means that you're looking at grabbing him in that middle part of the second round if you're doing a Dynasty startup draft. Now, like I mentioned, all of the rookie dynasty redraft rankings that you want are going to be over at footballguys.com. You can find the link in the comments below, and our YouTube channel. We've already been doing videos on Caleb Williams, Marshawn Lloyd. Now we've got Marvin Harrison, and we've got so many more prospects that are going to be joining them here on the Football Guys YouTube channel. It's going to be filled with rookie scouting profiles just like this, all types of dynasty and fantasy content throughout the offseason. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of them. Give this video a like and drop a comment down below.